All right, guys, welcome to Is It Legit podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how AI takeover in 5 years is a conservative estimate, according to Colin Wong. And so I want to introduce to you guys Colin Wong. Colin is a good friend of ours. We've known each other for a while. He is a ex-Google engineer. He launched a team that changed how the internet advertising works with Google AdWords and AdSense. And so he's now doing a startup. It combines shooting sports with entertainment. Think Topgolf but for shooting. So welcome, Colin. What's the name of your company, by the way?
I'm sorry?
What's the name of your company?
Name company is Tactical Affairs, actually. But we have an upcoming product basically called the Obsidian Bay. So the Obsidian Bay is essentially, think of playing a video game on a gigantic screen. We're talking about like 20 feet wide, 13 feet high, a huge screen. And you're not using a small little itty bitty Xbox controller. You're using what looks like a gun, shoots like a gun. It uses laser, does not use real bullets, but you'll feel immersed basically in a world where you can really shoot. You know, you can be a soldier, you can be James Bond, you can be whatever, John Wick. The big difference is you're not having to put on a VR helmet, which I think is a kill buzz for a lot of people actually. So, so anyway, that's us.
Yeah, and yeah, it's really exciting. And I know you're using a lot of AI to power your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know you're a gun enthusiast. So anybody who is interested in guns, please reach out to Colin. We can put his
for sure.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to get a demo day at Colin's business. And I have to say, it feels like a gun. The recoil is there. You feel like you're actually shooting an actual pistol or an AR-15. And we're probably going to have a corporate event there pretty soon. So
yeah, you guys really should. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure we will. We have a lot of enthusiasts like that who will have fun. So maybe we'll cover that in a later episode.
Definitely. We'll do another one. Yeah.
Sounds good. So, Colin, the AI takeover. I mean, I know we had a really good conversation. I know you're very interested in tech. You've been in tech for a long time. 5-year AI takeover. What, without making people run for the hills, how do you kind of explain what's the general concept of AI taking over in 5 years? Why do you think? How do you think that will happen? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things, right? So is AI going to take over? It's inevitable, right? So to me, it's an inevitability. AI will take over. It's just a matter of time. So really what we're talking about is when will it effectively take over, you know? And I think for a lot of people, folks who don't on a day-to-day basis keep up with what's happening with AI, you might think it's going to happen in your lifetime, right? The next 30 years, the next 25, 20 years. But, as someone who uses AI on a daily basis and has seen the growth and the maturity of AI, because when you think about it, all this really only started about a year to 2 years ago only. Like that's how close, ChatGPT first started. And just think in terms of from the day it first started to today, how much things have changed so much. You're talking about really a compression of growth, actually. And I think this is why it's different from all the rest of the major breakthroughs, right? You think about the internet, when the first internet came about, or at least was exposed to the general public, it took like 15, 20 years before people really felt like internet was part of their lives, essentially, right? Then you look at mobile, there was a much shorter compression, right? And AI is going to be an even shorter compression. So what that means is anytime there's a major technological change, the compression of the acceptance and the maturity becomes shorter and shorter and shorter. And I think AI is actually now a force multiplier where we're not thinking in terms of years before the next major upgrade. We're not thinking months before the next major upgrade. Literally, we're seeing on a week-by-week basis, things are continuing to evolve and getting better and better. Just think of the last time you saw, not last time, but remember, like, I think it was sometime last year, that they did that Will Smith, AI generated photo.
Oh, yeah.
And think about, right? And AI generated photos today, AI generated videos today. We're talking about 1 short year. That's it, 1 year, right? And it's going to get even better, even faster, right? And so the progression of when AI will really take over, in the sense of take over our lives, right? The things that we do, assist us, be so integrated in everything that we do. Definitely 5, and I feel 5 is conservative. Like I personally feel 5 is like, if I were to pad, if I'm going to pad my estimates, and tell people and feel reasonably safe and confident, I'll say 5. In my mind is something else. So I'll just put it that way. It's not 20 years, it's not 30 years like some people are thinking. It's here, basically.
Yeah, because you were basically, thriving in the .com era, right? I mean, you saw how the internet completely changed the world. I was a little bit younger, and I was introduced to the internet. I saw, AOL, and we thought that those technological advances were mind-blowing. And you kind of saw, and you were into AdSense, you were in Google. I mean, you were in one of the most thriving companies, and you saw how it truly did change the world. Stuff that you were working on truly did change everything, the way we ingest information. But AI seems to be a different beast. It seems to be to say that it's on steroids is not even enough to describe what is actually going on. And as people, all 3 of us are utilizing AI and just understanding more about the technology, it seems scary, in a sense, like how much advances in this space are happening, where, like you said, that Will Smith video, I've been watching the 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐿 videos, and
𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐿, yeah.
There are other video technology companies that are, it doesn't seem real. VO3 was pretty good, but now it's like movie studio quality that you just can't tell reality or not. And the fact that this was not created in a studio is just a depiction of what is actually happening in this space. We have to see it visually for us to really understand what is happening. And so I totally get you. And I understand.
Well, think about it this way, right? If you had asked people a year ago when they first saw that Will Smith with the image, right? If you ask them a year ago, when will it be before AI can start generating studio quality movies? A year ago, people would have said maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But we're only a year later, and we're here already. That's what I mean by compression. Things are compressing really fast. And it's not that they were wrong. It's that most people were associating a time frame, because everybody has a mental model in their mind, right? Because through life experience, in the mental model in the mind, they're like, yeah, I've seen major breakthroughs every few years, right? And it's probably going to take 2 or 3 major breakthroughs before things really become substantial, right? And when you put that contextually in your mind, that's how you associate growth and progression and changes. You're going to think, yeah, if I saw that video last year, I would reasonably, as a person, say it, AI is not going to take over movie studios, not for the next 10 years, for example, right? But a year later, and it's only because compression of growth and changes is happening so fast. It's actually exponential, actually. It's crazy. Yeah.
I think within a year's time, and again, I'm being conservative here, it's probably 3 months, but I think in a year's time, anybody can be a movie producer. Anybody with a creative mind who can create a really good script and who can vibe code or whatever, whoever can prompt it correctly, I believe that the day is coming where they'll be able to actually create great movies with good stories just right on their computer. And what's really funny is I've actually been watching some of these videos that people have been making. I watched a video of a lady who she's like looking outside of her office. She has a beautiful view, and then there's a nuclear strike, and you're seeing like all these crazy effects that seems totally movie-like. It really looked like a movie. I would say the only difference would be is that it's almost a little too perfect, but imperfections can be replicated, right?
Right. Yeah.
That would be the only discrepancy that I believe I believe the day is coming very soon where we're going to be able to recreate these things, and it's going to be fun because, you know, some creative genius will be able to actually create videos. And I think that also pertains to people will be able to start any business. Will be able to, anything they're passionate about, they'll be able to actually create something big.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just saw a clip of somebody recreating a match between Michael Jordan and LeBron James for basketball fans out there. That's been kind of the dream matchup, right? Or like I just saw a historical recreation of the Roman Empire or the Chinese, you know, Tang Dynasty or whatever it was. And it's so cool because it takes all the historical data, and it's not perfect. Like sometimes the horse is like floating in the air, you know, but 99% of it, it really makes you think. I can recreate scenarios that have been a dream and just do it for pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah.
Which also talks about if we can transition into jobs, the topic of jobs. So, so obviously creatives they've had a stronghold, you know, whether it's making advertisements or graphics or videos. I mean, those jobs are already starting to be gone. I mean, we've seen layoffs. We've covered this a lot in the tech sector, even some, you know, other industries. Can you give us your take on what is working and what is not working in AI, and how we should think about in terms of skills, jobs? What are we supposed to do? We would love to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, sure, totally. And we're not going to talk about what's happening today, because what's happening today is going to change tomorrow and the next week and the week after, right? Things are, like I said, things are progressing so fast that you can't really prepare for today. You actually do have to prepare for a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, right? And the best way that I tend to look for myself is I look at my kids. So my kids are all in college right now. So, you know, one's about, you know, well, my youngest just went into college last year, so she's effectively got roughly 4 years, right? So 4 years up before she graduates, and then the other one has got 2 years before she graduates. So what's going to happen 2 to 4 years from now when they graduate, right? What is the world that they are going to inherit? What skills do they need to have? Do they need to own by the time they graduate, such that they can competitively, right, survive in this new world that we're talking about? Because the reality is the things that we think are traditional is no longer going to be true anymore, right? If you're thinking like, oh, I can, you know, just, let me just go to college, you know, do an engineering degree, and what, as for the longest time being the safest, best thing you can do is, you know, let's do a computer science degree, right? Super safe, right? I'll do computer science degree. I'll join Microsoft, Amazon, Google, whoever. Like, that's as safe a job as it gets. Pays you extremely well. You're good for the rest of your life. Well, you can forget all about that. That ain't happening anymore, right? Those days are coming to an end already, pretty much coming to an end. And as someone who's still up to today is still involved in generating code basically on a daily basis, I can tell you for sure, like, those days are gone. Like, you know, it's like, that's it already. That's it. And so if you were to think from that standpoint, 2 to 4 years, if you give AI 2 to 4 years to keep evolving and growing and increasing in capacity and capability, what's it going to look like when by the time my daughters graduate from college, right? That world is the world that they need to be prepared for, right? Let alone like 10 years from now, 15, forget about that, man. We're talking about major, massive upheavals and changes 2 to 4 years from now. That's the way I tend to look at things, basically. So how do I prepare my kids, right? So the first things I would say is any kind of entry-level hard skills is going to be gone, right? Entry-level hard skills is going to be gone. If you are coming out and you're going to be, traditionally, right? I get a marketing degree, I come out, I get an entry-level marketing job, and I do marketing copy, right? I try to put images to do basic stuff. There's a creative director ahead of me. Well, that job is gone, right? That job is gone because the creative director is going to use AI and just do everything that you are supposed to do. That job is gone, right? So hard skills, entry-level hard skills are all at risk, basically, at this point. And it's not just creative jobs, right? Because computer science, to a certain degree, it's very much hard, programming oriented, right? But think about basic finance, basic accounting, basic marketing, basic like all these basic things. Everything is at risk because the person above is going to use AI, right? If you're talking about a 2 to 4 year compression, you could say, yeah, at a director level is still pretty safe. VP level is still pretty safe, but at some point, given enough of a progression of time, even those jobs will be at risk, basically. Right. So one of the skills that you're going to need to survive in this world, I'm going to say that you actually do need to have an entrepreneurial mindset, an entrepreneurial spirit, basically. Right. So I'll give you an example. If I think of an opportunity, I come across something, I identify the opportunity, and I'm the one that says, hey, I think there's a way to make money here, basically. Right. I spend the energy and time to explore it, to do things about it, to figure if something can be done. And then I'm the one that uses AI to do market analysis, uses AI to do test marketing, uses AI to help me in sales. I'm the one telling AI what to do, right? AI is being told what to do. The jobs that are highest at risk is the job where you are being told what to do. If you apply for a job today and the majority of what you do is being told what to do, you're in trouble. You are in trouble, right? You need to have the entrepreneurial mindset. And today, more than ever, soft skills is going to be so important. Putting your name out there, talking to people, networking, identifying opportunities, creating partnerships. Those skills are going to matter more because those are the things that AI, at least not yet today, can easily do, right? Because AI in the short term, 2 to 4 years, because my time frame is 2 to 4 years. In the short term, AI is not going to be there yet, right? And so what my kids need to do is they need to develop soft skills. They need to be entrepreneurial in nature. And you don't have to start a company to be entrepreneurial. You can be in a large company and be entrepreneurial. You're the ones that figure out the opportunities, ways to make money, ways to make your boss look good, basically, right? Ways to grow the company revenue, ways to cut costs. If you're the one that's coming up with all these ideas and having AI help you to implement it, you become valuable. Right? And when you become valuable, then you are not as easy to replace by AI. So we're coming into a world where that really is the most important thing. You have to be cross-disciplinary because nowadays you cannot be a specialist anymore. Like, I only want to do marketing, or I only want to do engineering, and all I want to do is engineering. Well, if you niche yourself into that small of a slice, you are being used by somebody. You are not the one who is using things, essentially. Right? You have to be cross-disciplinary, have the vision, have the entrepreneurial mindset, have the soft skills, go out there and do networking. These are the things that are going to help you succeed, whether you actually do a real company and start a real company of your own, or you join another company, right? That's what matters the most. Fundamentally, this is it. You have to take responsibility. Responsibility is the thing that AI cannot take over. Responsibility means you have to take responsibility to create the opportunity to make money, to cut costs, or to take on liability. And I can tell you, for a very, very, very long time, AI will never take liability, right? Like you can never tell the judge, hey, AI did this, its fault. And hence AI is responsible for the damage or the crime or the whatever. No, it's the person above who owns the AI, who is responsible for directing the AI. That's the person that owns the liability, basically, right? When you take a loan, somebody's got to sign the contract. That's the person that takes the financial liability. AI will never replace that person, right? So these are the safe. If you can think in terms of safe, that's the safe job, right? Everything else at risk. Everything else is at risk. Yeah.
So sorry, just to I like the thread, but just to wrap this up and give it a very practical view for people, I'm going to ask Colin and Peter. There's this, imagine you are a graduate, engineering, you're in your last semester, you have 200K in debt, 400K in debt. You hear Colin say this, you're panicking, right? You're like, what did I do with my life? Or there's a engineer or, some sort of hard, position that you mentioned in a Google, Amazon, whatever. They're listening to this. To have that entrepreneurial mindset or spirit, can you guys give people, like, this is exactly what they should be doing? Like, what do you see right now in the world that you could say, well, you would take this and do this with AI to make it into a business idea? Do you have anything that's real easy that people can latch onto who's watching?
Yeah, it's the man. Let me tell you, man, the ability to start a new business today is so easy. Really, it's so easy, right? The resources, the things that you can do for very small amount of capital, it's all there already. It's all there. All it takes is a decision. You just got to make a decision. That's it, right? Make a decision, take risks, right? Because and here's the thing, not everybody is a risk-taking type of this. A lot of people are very risk averse, right? The folks who are the most risk averse actually are the folks who their jobs are the most at risk. It's kind of weird that way, right? Like if you actually like we had 30 interns last year, my company, all kinds of interns, business interns, engineering, software, hardware interns, all kinds of interns, basically, right? So if I look at all the interns and what they were able to do because of AI, right, then I can safely say, wow, right? Like, would I hire them? Because if they could do it, I don't even need them because I can do it too. Just assign AI that responsibility and have AI do it. But you got to go out there and do it, right? You got to go out there and find an opportunity. Hey, I have this idea, basically, right? What can I build, hardware and software, basically? How can I team up with folks to build something interesting? Even if that is not a real company, it can show an employer, wow, this person took initiative, tried this. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't work, but they had an initial interesting premise and they went ahead and tried to make something out of it. That's the kind of person I'm looking for, right? I want someone who is constantly looking for ways, creativity, looking for ways to get shit done, basically. That's the person I want to hire, not the person that wants to be told what to do, because the person that needs to be told what to do, AI is going to replace. That's basically it. If you're waiting to be told, well, what does ChatGPT do for you every day? It's waiting for you to give it a prompt, right?
Yeah.
So you want to compete against AI, you want to compete against ChatGPT, be told what to do. Well, good luck, man.
Yeah, this is exactly.
Time.
I'm dealing with this with my 9-year-old right now. Well, he'll be 9 in like 2 weeks, but he asked me a question, and I'm like, what do you think? You give me some ideas. Give me I don't know if you guys have heard the 131.
Oh, John, you cut out.
Yeah, you cut out for a second. Nope.
Sorry. While John's fixing that, I definitely have some thoughts here. I mean, I can answer John's question, but it's just really interesting how, for the longest time in our schools, we were taught how to follow, that tunnel vision, like you said. We were taught to work under someone. We're trained to work under someone. And even in the 1960s, 1970s, I mean, they were basically, you go to school. Why? You go to school to end up being a worker, right? You work at the factory. They wanted workers. We were trained our whole lives to, follow directions, essentially, right? That's what school is. You hear a bell, we get, positive reinforcement. We go out to, school lunch, whatever it is, right? And so, but this is all flipping right upside down now, where now we have to, I think one of the thing is, like in high school or in like grade school, I would say, I wasn't the greatest student. Now I did well in college just because I really, really tried. But one thing I've realized about school is, like, you have to follow a certain protocol, like someone's mindset and someone's thinking. Yeah. The problem with entrepreneurs is that it doesn't work for entrepreneurs. Most entrepreneurs actually don't do that great in school. It's because they have to think, you have you want to get to a goal, you have to think about 19 different ways on how to get to that goal, because in real life, it's not just like A equals B.
Yeah.
That. I mean, how many problems come up in your business, right? It's like you have to figure out 19 different ways to get to B. And so it's just really funny how it's all, flipping. And we now have to, we went through all this school for what? Because essentially for the workers, we are competing against an AI agent. Okay. We will never win.
Correct. That is correct.
We will never win. And so the workers, that whole concept, I think it's obsolete, and it's crazy to think of that, but it is the case. I also would say, Colin, I don't think everyone's entrepreneurial. I think everyone is creative. I think we're human beings. We're created by God. And I believe that we have a creative mindset, but that entrepreneurial spirit, that CEO mindset is certainly like, you got to be a certain person, you got to be kind of hard-headed and push, be Steve Jobs, whatever. I think another alternative, actually something that you said, was that you could work for somebody.
Yeah.
Creative space.
You don't have to start your own business. You don't.
Go find a pact, right? Go find a tribe that is going somewhere, is creating something, is changing the world. You don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah. No, you don't want to do yourself. And like, contrary to what most people, like, not most, but contrary to like a popular perception, right? Like the whole Steve Jobs thing, basically, right? Pursue your passion, right? Passion doesn't make you money, man. At the end of the day, you need to survive, basically, right? You need to thrive. You need to provide financial stability for your family. And not everybody's going to be a Michael Jordan, right? Not like your passion. That's for the dream world, basically, right? For the vast majority of us, we got to do what it takes to survive. We're going to do what it takes to thrive, basically, right? And that's why it's called a job. That's why it's not called a passion. It's a job, essentially. It's the thing that if I don't have to do to make money, I probably wouldn't do it. That's a job, right? But coming back to your thing, basically, you can be very entrepreneurial in a job, actually. You can work for Microsoft and have the entrepreneurial mindset. It's that creativity. It's that ability to ask questions, to push, to do things. You don't wait to be told what to do. That's what I'm trying to reach is you're constantly looking for the better way to do things. That's at the end of the day what every entrepreneur is. There is a problem. I'm looking for a better way to solve the solution, a better, something that can help people, right? I'm creating value. You have to be in the value creation business. That's basically it, right? You cannot be the one to be told what to do to create the value. You have to be the value creator. You have to instigate the value creation. You have to force the value creation, right? Everyone needs to be that now already, because the mundane thing is being replaced, right? And if I were to take it way down, right, way at the lowest level, if we're talking about factories, the person who just does this on the conveyor belt, well, guaranteed a robot is going to take over. All right, that person never takes responsibilities, does not take liability, does not have any creativity, right? Does not make any decisions, does not need to network with people, does not have to identify opportunity. That person's job is gone. Very simple. Right?
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah. So, what I was saying a little bit before was I'm having these conversations with my almost 9-year-old. He'll come to me with a problem and he'll just kind of look to me, because I'm dad. I'm supposed to solve his problems, but I'm like, what do you think? Give me a solution. We try to do the 1-3-1 method. I've heard that from a CEO, where you have a problem, that's the one, and you have 3 potential solutions, and then pick one that you think is the best, and then come to me. And I think, because what Peter said, I also believe is true, which is the school system does produce factory workers, and that's, if you look it up, that's kind of how everything was set up. The bell, the classroom, the sitting there, doing the mundane, doing the worksheet. I've even, my neighbors have homeschooled kids that just went to public school after a long time. And I actually love the idea of homeschooling, because you can figure out, not everybody can do it or want to do it, first of all. but it's how do you foster the next generation to think like what you guys said, to create solving problems before somebody else tells you to solve it, because you have this desire to make things better. And then there's also a belief that you can, and that has to be fostered somehow. Because if you're 50 years old or whatever it is, and you've never had that mindset kind of taught to you, it's going to be like ripping off the Band-Aid. But that's another conversation, is how do you, get people to shift out of that? And probably one of the things is losing your job. I mean, it's tough, but those are all great points. Is create a portfolio of work wherever you are. It could be a W-2, but you can double, triple, quadruple the output of your work by doing, the spreadsheets, or balancing things, or creating like an incubator to test out this idea and bringing it to your boss or your partner, whoever. And how long is that going to take? I mean, Peter just made a budget app that he was dreaming about for a long time, and he did it in like a couple of weeks or something. And instead of entering everything in by hand, we can put it into the thing. It'll tell Peter like, okay, well, you spent too much, and he has this whole like bucket of and that's an idea, that's an app that he could sell. And I think we're actually going to share that with some of our clients, and that's like a value add for the business. So really good points, guys.
It's coming, man. I mean, what I'll say is it's coming, and I don't think we've even scratched the surface yet. That's what makes it scary, because AI is still constrained today, right? AI is constrained because AI cannot walk, cannot touch, right? Cannot see what it's not allowed to see. So think about that, right? Your ChatGPT cannot see unless you point something, you open the video and you point it to something, right? Gemini cannot see something unless you point it towards something, right? AI cannot see, cannot talk to people unless it's been talked to, cannot walk to something, right? So AI has constraints, but robotics is coming. AI can walk around, see what it wants to see, talk to whoever it wants to talk, touch whatever things it wants to touch. That's when it gets really, really scary, because at that point it's going to take over so many responsibilities and jobs that it right now does not have access to, because what is missing is context, right? It's missing context to be able to do those jobs, but you give it those capabilities and it can gain those contexts by itself, then shit gets scary, man. Shit gets really scary at that point, And unlike human beings, their knowledge is transferable. 100% transferable.
Right.
One AI can learn and teach the other 5, 10, 50,000, 500,000 robots, man. Like it's transferable. Never dies, never forgets. A master craftsman, right? At most have 1 or 2 underlings, right, that they teach, basically, right? Because they can't afford to teach everything to everybody. It takes years and years to master something, right? But now this thing that learns it, that memory transfers to the other 5 million robots, and boom, right? Every robot is a master craftsman. It's like, oh,
it's Star Wars. It's all the androids. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Colin, you told me about how robots are going to start to be able to see things and are going to be able to actually it's all data at the end of the day. They're going to be able to see the physics of everything, life, and how people move and how birds move. Did you see that robot, Honor's robot phone? Now so there's a phone and then there's a camera that pops out. It's like a little robot thing that's like looking around. They just came out with that, and that it just reminded me of what you said, and how yes, robots are going to start getting data about real life, because most of their cameras are really it's just like looking at us or like on a screen. It's not looking at real life and the physics of life. But I believe that's China's way of, and not just China, but like basically a way for robots actually to see how real life works. And more people are going to have cameras, or these robots are going to have cameras. They're going to understand how the world works, and then it's all getting all of this data, and then of course it's going to be able to recreate it, optimize it, and of course replace us at some point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the biggest problems with AI today, right? AI today is we've run out of training data already. So right. So last year people are talking about, well, run out. Like we like took every data we can possibly take and threw it to AI. We've ran out of data. And so the big thing was synthetic data. Let's create data so that AI can train with created data, synthetic data. But I think we're now approaching like the world where, well, why create synthetic data? That you give AI the ability to self-learn, right? To create data by learning and then sharing. And I think that's really where it is, right? In many ways, it mimics a human being, right? You know, you have your baby is born. How many years does it take to learn to walk and talk and socialize? And you know, like it takes years, right, for that baby to learn, because it's constantly taking data, right, and synthesizing it and creating neurons and pathways in its brain to finally become a functional human being. Well, robotics will have to go through that process, right? And it's already going through that process right now. Actually, it's synthesizing a lot of data. But when that robot is fully functional, yeah, man, it gets interesting, right? That's what people like. Some people say like, oh, you know, yeah, forget about white collar jobs. Blue collar jobs are not the safest. I don't think so, man.
No, they're not. They're not.
The way they do robotics, blue collar jobs will no longer be safe already. You know, forget about the plumber, the electrician, the carpenter. Forget about it, man. Robots will take over all those jobs. You know, so
yeah, I mean, that'll be the day. I
it
know
will come very soon. It will come soon. Actually, it will come sooner than most people think it will. Maybe that's the best way of putting it. You know,
and this is why we're sounding the alarm, right, on AI so much, because it's such a huge deal. Like everybody should be talking about it. I know people are getting probably getting tired of all this, but the fact of the matter is that this is such in some ways, an existential crisis, right? We're going to see a lot of job displacement. Someone was just telling me, like, there was like I forget where the data source was, but in like 2024, the job replacement by AI was like, you know, 5%, and then 2025 was like 7% or something like that. But then it's like Q1, just even by March, the job replacement is like 10% because of AI. And so a lot of people aren't really seeing what's happening to this tech sector. I don't know why no one's talking about it. I just saw it on, I think it was like Impact Theory or something like that. It was one of the big podcast channels where it's like, are you guys, like, we're seeing it because we're in a huge, like, we're in Seattle, the greater Seattle tech out here. And we're seeing a lot of jobs being replaced by AI, a lot of them. I mean, even amongst our friend groups, like a lot of the husbands got fired from their jobs, and AI is, you know, it's going to be very, so like if there is a job available, there are 100 people, 200 people vying for the same job. And so it is such a huge deal. I think, you know, like you said, it's what's the crazy about AI is that it's not just one single being ingesting information and just, you know, learning how to function. It's a hive mind, right? And it's so intelligent. It's 10,000 times smarter than us. That's not even the right compute, right? It's like, it is infinitely smarter than us and has a hive mind, and it's all feeding it each other, right? And so as soon as it grows limbs, legs, you know, it's over. I mean, they'll be able to do virtually everything we can do much better. And I actually, last thing I'll say is I have a friend who he's the iOS guy for this company. They have, you know, about 300 employees, or they're a startup, but they are going to change the medical industry. Basically, they are selling to hospitals where it's like the biggest medical data syndicate that's powered by AI. That's out there. They're actually, you know, because sometimes, you know, we all hear about it. It's like how, you know, the diagnosis part is a lot easier when you have AI. Well, these guys are actually specializing in that particular thing and actually implementing in hospitals. They have hundreds of hospitals right now that they're already implementing. And so, but what's really crazy about this is that they're using all of the data. They have the most amount of medical data ever. than any other company right now. And so you're going to have this doctor, right? This AI doctor who's going to be able to diagnose you better than any doctor. You could already argue that it can, but this is going to be even more specific and more trained. It's going to be better than any doctor that you know.
Yeah.
And that's the future.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, and then now, like in short term anyway, right? We're not talking about the eventual long term. Short term anyway, human beings, you can always find like one human being that can do a job better than AI, right? And anything, right? You ask AI to do a marketing copy, it does a really great job of doing marketing copy, but you can always find one actual marketing person who can do a better job than that. But we're talking about aggregate, right? We're talking about aggregate in general. AI across the hundreds of thousands of marketing tasks in general across the aggregate, it will perform better than human beings. In general, right? And then that's the part that's scary. Yes, you can have one doctor that has this crazy, right, ability to like diagnose something, but you also have 10,000 other doctors who will do a mediocre job of diagnosing, and AI in general will outperform them, and that's why AI is going to take over, right? In general. So
on that thread, what are some things that, because you are actively using it for your business, you have been in the tech space for such a long time, what are specific things that are working really, really well right now in your business? But on the other side, what are some things that are not working well? Like, hey, I thought I could trust AI for this use case or this task, or even it could be personal, it could be anything you've heard. We have a lot of stories, but we'd love to hear what do you think is working and not working right now?
I don't tend to think in terms of what works well, what doesn't work well, because that's a static picture. It's a very static picture, right? The better way to think about things is understanding the flow, the process, actually, right? So last year this time and today, 1 year, right? Last year this time, right? And I'm a my background is software development, right? So obviously Cursor, that's the application that the majority of programmers are using nowadays, basically, right? So Cursor. So 1 year ago, Cursor, if I said, hey, do this X, Y, and Z, it would generate the code, and high probability it would not get it right the first time, and I would have to look through the code and double check. I would have double checked, right? So I'm like the teacher that's double checking the code base to make sure that everything is correct. And then, like, okay, you need to change this, you need to change that. That's not what I meant, and stuff like that. And it was also a process, because it was a journey where I had to learn how to tell AI what to do too, right? So if I don't give it enough context, enough information, it will not be able to generate the thing that exactly the way I want it to generate. Over time, I learned how to give it better instructions, and over time it learned how to perform better with less instructions. You see how that progression goes, right? I learned to communicate better, and it learned to do with less communication. And you can see the progression 1 year from now. I hardly have to tell it much, and it can do so much better. But that's 1 year. 1 year. And a lot of what has changed is the fact that it started asking me questions. It never used to ask me questions. I would tell it what to do. It would just do it. Now it's like a human being. Hey, I need some clarification here and here and here. Can you tell me, like, what exactly do you mean? So I type it, right? And then it's like, oh, okay, I understand that, but what about this, right? So now it's a conversation. It used to be I tell it exactly what to do. Now it's become a conversation. And conversations will give you exactly what you need, actually. And today, I don't ever read code anymore. Like, I have stopped reading code. Compared to 1 year ago, I still read. I was still the teacher double checking your homework. Now I don't check the homework. So I just let it do its thing already. I don't even care anymore.
And
right?
You trust it enough to be able to not. And so are you talking about meta prompting? Is that kind of where you're at, or is that
the current trend today, right? And it will continue to evolve. The current trend today is we call it context engineering. You have to engineer the context, right? So I'll give an example of typically what I would do, right? So let's say in my mind, I'm making an example, a non-technical example. So in my mind, I'd be like, okay, I I need a marketing. I need to do some marketing, right? So I want to create a video for my product because this is an easy example to understand, right? So let's say I'm creating a watch. I need to create a marketing video for this product, right? Now, instead of telling it the video that I wanted to create, I actually tell AI, hey, I'm creating this product. I believe this product is going to address this market segment. Why is my product better than everybody else? So I'm like giving it the full lowdown of my thoughts. I'm giving a download to AI on my thoughts of why I believe this is the next best available thing out there, right? Then I tell AI, okay, now you figure out what's the best way to market it. And then it's going to ask me questions. Oh, okay, right, like based on this, based on that, what do you think? Can you clarify this? Blah, 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 blah. And then by the end of it, boom, it creates a script for a 30-second video. And I'm like, holy shit, that's so good. But I didn't create the video. I didn't create the marketing script. All I did was context engineering. I gave it the right context for it to make a decision. That's why I say when AI can finally see and touch and walk, and it is able to acquire context of its own without me telling it, without me giving the download of context, that's when the game changer really accelerates, basically. You see what I'm saying? We're still at a time where we have to give context, but that no longer will be true in the near future. When robotics come and it can gather context on its own, like 𝐃𝐿, right? That the thing that's happening right now, where you give it full permission to take control of your desktop. That's context. Context. It now can acquire context. You don't have to explicitly write down context. It is able to acquire context. See, it's all about context, right? And it's all about learning and getting information, because we've run out of training data with synthetic data. I mean, all that is crap. I mean, like all that has limitations. The next thing is AI has to learn on its own, get context on its own, right? And that is coming already. It is coming, and that's why it's scary. Right, the things that differentiate us between a robotic AI basically is becoming less and less and less and less and less.
So are you giving it your passwords and all your credit cards?
You know what? I'm kind of old-fashioned, man. Ooh, we're talking about financial liability. Who goes to jail if something goes wrong? It's still me. AI is never going to go to jail.
Yeah.
So I still have to be careful anytime anything touches money, basically, right? Because my financial liability is on the line, basically, right? Financial responsibility, I guess I can put it that way. Yeah.
Just get a Visa cash debit card and just use that. $100 at a time. It's scary. I mean, I Peter and I used agent mode for the first time 3 months ago, and it feels like forever ago. But when I saw the cursor moving and doing all the things, I was freaked out. It's like, can I have permission to your Google Calendar?
Yep.
Drive. And I'm like, oh my God. Not like I have anything to hide. It's just work stuff, but it's scary for sure.
It's inevitable. We're all gonna give permission for it to take over already, because like if you talk about the internet when it first came out, everybody was so afraid to put their credit card to purchase something on the internet. Everybody's so afraid, right, to give their credit card number to a company they cannot see, to people they cannot actually talk to, and just trust that they're going to take your credit card and only do the right thing. Now nobody thinks twice.
It's true. That's true.
You've ceded control, right? You've ceded control because the value you're getting far outweighs the control you gave up. And AI is gonna be like that, right? I am still pretty scary about like AI taking over my desktop. But at some point, it's going to create so much compelling value that I will be like, F it, go at it, man. Go at it.
Yeah. And then how much is too much? I know we talked about that when we met, but it's like, at what point do you kind of lose control of your autonomy or agency, things of that nature? But anyway, I lots to think about for sure.
There is, things are constantly shifting. Really, what I usually tell people is you really cannot predict the truth. You just have to be prepared for it. So you cannot predict the future. You just have to be prepared for the future. That's all you can do, right? And you gotta, like it's in war as it is in in most things, basically. Right? Like the best laid plans, right? Like what's his name, that boxer, right? The best laid plans, like you have all the best plans in the world, basically. Then you get punched the first time, and all the plans go out the shit, right? Like what's his name?
Muhammad Ali?
No. Tyson, Mike Tyson.
Tyson,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike Tyson, right? So you can plan all you want, right? So I think we suck at planning. Like we just plan, but the reality is the first punch that comes in, we have to adjust. And really, it's the ability to adjust. The people who does not want to adjust, just want to do one thing, cannot change. They're the ones that are most at risk. The people who are willing to adjust, which is a very entrepreneurial mindset. The people who will say, okay, this didn't work, I'm going to try something else. The person who's like, it doesn't work, but I'm going to keep trying 1,000 times before I give up. Those people are in trouble, right? The people who are like, this didn't work, let me try another way. That didn't work, let me try another way, right? That kind of person is going to succeed. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why I keep saying it's an entrepreneurial mindset. It doesn't mean you are an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean you own a business. It's the entrepreneurial mindset, actually, that you need to have to survive, right? And and essentially you just have to change. You just have to change with the times, basically. You cannot, even the best of us, I don't think we can actually predict what AI is going to do to us 5, 10, 15 years from now, right? We just have to be prepared. That's it, prepared. So, yeah.
You just have to be able to adjust quickly to the
correct
rates. And that, I mean, even now, like we're using AI, but there's a lot of realtors who are not using AI right now.
Exactly.
You're left behind. I'm sorry, you're going to be left behind. There's no way you're going to survive. The systems that we're using is too powerful, and it's only getting more powerful.
Yeah.
I think that's the scary part, not to get too dystopian, but it's like the utility is so great that we're probably all going to end up succumbing to the systems. And it's a scary thing to think about because like you said, like John says, like, where is the line there? Because okay, I'm going to get a little crazy with you. I believe we're going to have a huge cybersecurity problem. I believe we're going to give AI so much permission of our lives, of our, whatever, credit cards, you name it, our bank accounts, et cetera, et cetera. I believe that day is coming, and then there's going to be a problem with security. And if we have a problem with security, then how are we going to identify ourselves? How are we going to be able to, say that, hey, this is really me talking to you, mom, not AI who's asking you for money, right? So I do believe that as we're giving way to the system, that the system's in some way going to own us. And then, but we as Christians, like, where is our line of giving way to the system? Well, what if you can't provide for your family unless you give in completely to the system? What do you do, right? It's like, and I think that's where the dystopian part comes. It's already happening, right? Like, we're already getting to the place where we have to learn AI. We have to give into the system, because there are people who are already losing jobs. Even in the last industrial revolution, I believe, when like steam and engines and that industrial engine revolution came with technology, a lot of people don't understand that we actually had a lot of job losses. There was actually a lot of people without jobs because of this revolution. They just, they were the plowers, or they did like the manual jobs. Well, machines took over. And so for a period of time, actually a lot of people were without jobs. What's going to happen in the near future? And at the rate this thing is growing and getting stronger and better, I feel like the rate of job losses are going to be greater and stronger. And I don't know if replacement is going to be fast enough to, employ us. And so I feel like there's an existential.
No, there is an existential crisis, in the sense that if we're thinking about the traditional financial world today, right? The traditional financial world today, where there's goods and services, you pay for goods and services, and therefore for every goods and service that you purchase, some other human being on the other side had to create those goods and services. And so then you get into this economic thing of the flow of money, right? Money has to flow, right? So if we all buy stuff, we need to have a job to be able to pay for the stuff that we buy. But if everybody's creating amazing goods and services, but then all of it is generated by AI and all of us are out of a job, then how can we buy those goods and services, right? And if we cannot buy those goods and services, then the companies that use AI also falls. It's like this problem, right? It's not just the people out of jobs, but if they are out of jobs, they don't have money to buy from the company, so the companies also fall. So this to me is the existential crisis. It's the fact that the flow of money is now a problem, actually, right? A lot of people are one-sided. They're thinking, oh, loss of jobs, people are out of jobs, companies are going to survive. How is a company going to survive if it has no customers, no paying customers? You see what I'm saying? It's a problem on every end. It's not just companies surviving and employees being out of job. No, that's not true. It's integrated. We're all people at the end of the day. You see what I'm saying? So the system of goods and services through monetary flow, that is now the thing that we need to think about, because that has to change.
Yeah, I think
otherwise it doesn't work.
I've heard universal basic income. That's I mean, exactly like the money flow, right? If you maybe it's kind of like the utopian version of it is like, I don't know if you guys watch Bridgerton or whatever. My wife made me watch it, so I watched it. But it's like those nobles that are just like dancing and having parties, and they're not really doing much except socializing and living under this house, a manor or whatever it is. And it's going to be really interesting how that change happens. Because per your example, Peter, I just saw a clip where during the Industrial Revolution, when the steam engine came to be, all the artisans and merchants, they kind of started losing their jobs. And people started going into the cities, and there was massive issues with the cities, and no sewage, no sewer system, and all that. And all the merchants apparently would like break into factories and start breaking all the machines because they were so mad. And it's like, to stop that civil unrest, because we obviously don't want civil war. There's gonna have to be like an opiate of the masses, aka universal basic income. And we've talked about this and thought about this before, but it just also, it's a very interesting future to think about, for sure.
Yeah, it's very scary. It's very scary. Like the arguments last year, every year the arguments are changing really fast right now. The arguments last year were like, hey, yes, AI is going to take over a lot of jobs, but now everybody's going to be retrained to better jobs, basically, right? And right, but fast forward 1 year, we clearly see that that's actually not true. That's actually not true. And why it's different than any other technological development in the past is the fact that AI can create AI, and AI can self-improve, and AI can self-learn. That's the big scary part, right? It's not like, oh, I have a AI take over this job and that's all it will ever do. No. It's going to learn to take over the other 2 jobs, actually. It's going to learn to take over the other 5 jobs that's adjacent to it. You see what I'm saying? That's why it's a lie to say that, like it's like the calculator, like in the past, people had to calculate. Then when the calculator came, people could do things on top of the calculator. But what if the calculator can learn? What if the calculator is self-aware and it can take over all the other jobs around the calculator?
It's different. Any field, Colin. Like, okay, like think about any field. Okay, like real estate, right? Think about the top. It has, because we put all of our stuff online, right? So think about, and we're just feeding it information. That's actually like OpenAI right now. That's one of the criticisms. It was on the All In podcast where it's like, you understand OpenAI, they are basically just taking all of your ideas and they're going to make their own idea. And it's like they're studying you, right? And so in real estate, you're going to take the top 1,000 of the best realtors in the whole country, get all of their information, and I'm going to implement 1,000 of the best information that's out there. You know what I mean? So like any information we input online, it's just going to become the best of that. One AI agent, a plumber, a doctor, right? I'm way smarter than you. I'm the AI. I'm way smarter than you. And so it's like, that's the scary part. There's no field actually that it can substitute. Even it's like psychologists. It's like, oh yeah. Like they're never going to take a
absolutely, yeah.
You understand? We just did a thing on AI companionship. And we're realizing that people are utilizing AI as companions who can listen to you, who understand you, who acknowledge you, who has more information, who knows the DSM. I don't know what it is now, DSM-5. That's the psychologist handbook. They know that in and out, where an average psychologist has to like recall. Not the case anymore, right? With AI. And so no job is safe. No job.
Yeah. I might, so I'll give you an example, right? Let's say I'm a more traditional company and I have 500 sales staff, basically, right? Now I'm going to have the 3% that are really outstanding sales staff, like they can just sell the shit out of anything, right? I'm going to have the 97% that are mediocre salespeople. I use AI to replace the 97%. And I'm already so much better as a company, but the 97% would have lost their jobs. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people think is the misconception is to think that AI has to be smarter than humans. Actually, no. AI just has to be more competent than the majority of humans at that job. That's the distinction. It's not about who's smarter. It's not about who is more capable. It's about who's more competent in aggregate. Because in every human endeavor, there's a bell curve, right? Some people are really good at something. The vast majority are mediocre, and then a tail that sucks at that job. AI is going to take over the mediocre and the suck at that job. That's where the massive job loss is going to come, basically. They don't have to be smarter than us. They just have to be more competent than us in the aggregate. And that is the missing piece that people don't understand. The people are like, okay, I'm doing this thing. ChatGPT cannot possibly replace me. Yeah, for you.
But the problem is we literally cannot compete because we are human beings. We poop, we sleep
24 hours a day. We got to eat, drink. We need to rest. Yeah.
These things work 24/7. It computes information and does tasks.
Yeah.
Human beings will never be able to do do a research paper in 5 seconds. There's just we are not capable of beating AI in that regard.
Yeah, you can. And one AI learns, it'll pass that learning to the other 5,000 robots, right? As an example, right? So it's learning on the fly. It never forgets, and it passes its information perfectly to all its clones.
Yeah.
That's what we're fighting against.
It's impossible.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, go find something that gives you responsibility, takes you got to own liability, basically. You got to be the guy that's taking liability for it. You're the one that's going to jail, because AI will never go to jail. AI will never take any job that will go to jail, right? Those are the things you got to watch out for. You got to be entrepreneurial. You got to be able to change. You got to be constantly thinking about changing, shifting, becoming better, identifying opportunities. It's the entrepreneurial mindset at the end of the day. You don't have to own a business. You don't have to be a business owner. You just have to have that mindset, right? Short term, that's the way to approach, because nobody can figure out what the future is at this point. It's wide open. It's wide open. And we talk about Terminator, right? Skynet, right? Maybe we don't even need to worry about it, because it doesn't matter.
Well, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. That's the problem. It's just inevitable. So, well, let's end here. Last statements, guys. John, Colin.
This happened last time we talked, Colin. I'm extremely motivated and depressed at the same time. But I maybe just have real quick thing, Colin. Can you draw like a quick? You went to sleep. You woke up in 10 years. What's a utopian and a dystopian version of what you're seeing?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. let's start with a dystopian so we can end on a good note.
All right, let's go for it.
Dystopian will be easy, right? Like we have no freedoms because in reality, somebody or something is controlling everything we do, right? There's a right way to behave. There's a wrong way to behave, right? Everybody has to conform to the system because they can monitor everything you say. They can monitor everything you see, and then they can monitor everything you do. They know exactly where you are at any point, at any time, and what you're saying and what you're thinking. And somebody somewhere decide that they need to have authority over what you can do and say, right? That's the dystopian world that we live in, right? Never mind Terminator and all that, right? But to me, like that is the situation where we all live a life where we don't truly have freedom. Basically, we don't truly have freedom, right? Utopian world is more of a Star Trek type of analogy where, you know, the basic needs of survival has been taken care of, and now we're thinking to the stars, so to speak. We want to explore. We want to be better humans. We want to, live a life that's meaningful and create value for society, and everybody's just thinking that way because we no longer have to cheat and steal and stuff like that because the basic survival stuff is all taken care of already, right? Like nobody ever is homeless. Nobody have to worry about food, right? Whatever you want to learn, you can learn at any point, and there's zero cost of learning, right? Any opportunity you want to partake in, low entry cost of barrier to participate in that activity. And for some people, they just want to be on vacation for the rest of their life. They can do that if they want to, right? But inevitably, as I can tell you, if everybody has unlimited money, everybody it will eventually want to seek a higher purpose in life, right? It's Maslow's hierarchy, basically, right? If I solve your food problem, your home problem, your security problem, if I solve all those problems, inevitably you will start to think on a higher level about how to improve myself, how to improve society and stuff like that. That is the best case scenario for all of us. AI has allowed all of us to achieve that, essentially, right? To be in that state, right? Highest state of being, basically. Worst case scenario, we are all now like the Matrix, really. It's been plugged into us. We think we have freedom, but we actually don't. Everything's decided for us. I think that's not the world that I want to be part of, right? Which will it be? No, nobody knows.
It's up to us, I guess.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. Love it. Thank you, Colin.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate the opportunity to talk. As always, it's a lot of fun. But come by and my facility and check us out, man. Come and do some shooting. I think you'll have a lot of fun, actually. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, Colin. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. See you.